You are listening to the Julie Parker Practice Success Podcast, where you discover management insights and strategies for your successful dental practice. There are also interviews with key people in the industry who have advice and services to help you and your team achieve great success. Welcome to this episode of the Julie Parker Practice Success Podcast. And I thought I'd have a little talk about a little bit of a fresh look, if you like, on cancellation policies. Now, I think every dental practice does have some kind of cancellation policy. It's usually if you cancel or break your appointment time within a 24-hour period, there'll be some kind of fee attached. And it's a warning that you do like to put out to your client base just so they know exactly what expectations that you have on them, on how committed they are to their dental appointment times. But the thoughts that I have around cancellation policies is yes, we should absolutely have one indeed. However, I think we should have one in place and notify the people that actually do break their appointment times. It's been my experience with all the many practices that I've worked in and consulted at over the years that not everyone does cancel their appointment times. In fact, a wild majority of your clients make their appointment times, turn up, keep them. If they do need to change them for any reason, they give you loads of notice. If it's a situation where it is impossible for them to turn up, such as a funeral, or that they are really quite ill with something like gastro or migraine, that they are very apologetic. It's not a routine of theirs, and you wouldn't be threatening them with any repercussions because of the cancellation. You wouldn't want to. They're usually fabulous patients, and they're still fabulous patients. Life just happened in that situation, and it's not a thing that you have to warn them against doing. They're the type that commit to their appointment times and turn up all the time. So the question that I have is, what percentage of our patients are actually breaking their appointment times? And there's two things at play here. Number one, what is going on in your practice may be quite different to what's going on in another practice. There may be some people out there going, we do get cancellations every week. There might be one or many, but when you come down to which specific patients are doing it, we think 95% of our patient base do turn up to their appointment times and keep that commitment. And the other thing that's at play with all practices is, what communications are you having with patients about their treatment, about their appointment times as well, that could be contributing to them either being a good person to turn up or a bad person that doesn't turn up. My thought is, if I was to, for example, join a gym, and in my introduction to that gym, I was warned of, if I did the wrong thing, if I brought in unpaid guests, if I didn't wipe the equipment down, if I didn't do this and didn't do that, these repercussions would happen to me. I think I'd be put off a little bit. I'm thinking, gosh, I'm actually a good person. Why don't you give me a go to prove that before you start telling me of all the repercussions if I do the wrong thing? I think if I went to a bar/restaurant for a meal with a group of my friends and we were told, we'll take you through to your table now, here are the menus, and just to warn you, if any of you drink to excess, we will be throwing you out. I think, again, I'd be like, what are you telling me this for? I'm a person that doesn't get drunk when I go out socially with my friends to a point where I need to be kicked out of the place that I'm at. And so I think we do have the potential for creating a bit of ill will, a bit of ill feeling in the very earliest stages of this relationship with our patient, and quite unnecessarily, because maybe they're one of the vast majority who are never going to be breaking their appointment times. So I'm going to go through 6 reasons why I believe people do break their appointment times. And so we can do what we can as a dental practice to reduce the likelihood of people breaking their appointment times. But I really do urge you all that if you've got a welcome pack that you send out to your patients, if you've got new patients that ring up and book for an appointment time, and one of the systems is to add to these communications the cancellation policy, it may be leaving an unnecessarily bitter taste in people's mouths. Just imagine in different scenarios, you being the customer, you being the patient, and having that warning bestowed upon you when you go ahead and organise an appointment time, or when people have sent you out a welcome pack, which has a list of repercussions in it, how it would make you feel. And if it's going to make you feel less than when we're trying to make people feel more than, when we're welcoming them into the practice and saying this is the wonderful experience we're going to be offering you, then I would urge you to think to yourself, is it worthwhile, is it prudent of us to share the cancellation policy with 100% of our client base, even though it may leave a bad taste in their mouth, and even though it is less than 5%, usually less than 1% of the patients that are going to be failing their appointment times or breaking their appointment times, therefore, cancelling late within a 24-hour period. I've always been of the thought that when you do get to the point where you're feeing a patient for a broken appointment time, for a series of broken appointment times, that it is one of those fees that it's unlikely that they will pay it, and that's unlikely that they will return. And that's great. That's wonderful. They have been a disruption to the operation of your day. You want to fee the patient a quality enough amount that, $50 is a common one, but I think $50 is just too small an amount. It's too easy to think, I do need to cancel my appointment time today. They said that they're going to be charged $50, but I really need to go and do this thing. So I'll just pay the $50 and then we're square and even. But we're not square and even. It costs the practice far more than $50 to have a broken appointment time. So I always do urge, make it $100, make it $200, and never actually go after that money. Just send the invoice. They'll probably never pay it. You'd never go after them to pay it with a bad debt or anything like that. But they would need to pay it if they wanted to enter back into your practice again, if you chose to still accept them as a patient. So with those sort of people that are recidivist, broken appointment timers, then there is a cancellation policy that I do encourage you to put in place. But I want you to put it in place just for those people once they prove themselves to be one of those people, not to everyone, not to everyone. So I've got a letter that I have drafted for practices to use, and I'm going to read it out to you later on. A link to that letter will be within the show notes. It's just on the free resources page of the website that you can use for that small percentage of people that break appointment times on a regular basis. But first of all, I want to go through the 6 reasons why I think people do break their appointment times, to encourage you to develop systems around these 6 reasons, to address these 6 reasons, and so they don't become the reason why people break appointment times. So you'll be reducing down the likelihood of anyone breaking their appointment time when you address these 6 reasons. And so the percentage of clients that do break their appointment times goes down even further. And then for the very small number of those ones that do break their appointment times, then I've got a little system for you to utilise within your cancellation fee. So let's first of all go through these 6 reasons. Reason number 1 is it's an unawareness of your practice expectation. And what I mean by that is it wouldn't be unheard of that a patient would be a first-time visitor to your practice. They've been a practice patient at another dental practice for a number of years. This other practice didn't really have any systems around cancellation policies. And the dentists themselves always ran a little bit late. And when you did turn up a little bit late, they were running a little bit late as well. So it was kind of like an accepted way of managing things. The receptionist never reprimanded you for that because of the fact it would seem silly to say, bad person, you're 10 minutes late, and now we're going to make you wait another 20 minutes for your appointment time. And then they come to your practice as a new patient with the same habit, with the same management around turning up on time for their appointment time. At this other practice, you may have had to cancel within 24 hours, and that was fine. The other practice didn't say there was anything wrong with that. They will just reschedule the appointment time. If at this other practice you completely forgot about the appointment time and you failed to attend at all, the other practice may have called you a few hours later or the next day, or not at all, to notify you missed an appointment time. And so there was no communication around that either. And so to date, this person has had experiences where it's not a big deal to break appointment times. They come to your dental practice quite unaware that your policy, your system, your expectation on them is quite different. And so the way we would manage that specific scenario, given that this patient has become one of the small minority of patients on your books that will break appointment times, we just have to help them be aware of it in a very polite way. If you can imagine visiting someone's home, at your home, you're allowed to put the feet on the furniture and curl your feet on top of on the couch when you're sitting on it. At another home, it may not be acceptable. It would be unfair for that other home to say, "What do you think you're doing? Bad person, get your feet off the couch." It would be far better to say, "Just to let you know, we prefer you to not have the feet on the couch." And be nice and polite about it, recognizing that when someone comes into your home, when someone comes into your dental practice for the first time, they don't know how to behave. They just need to be directed by what they observe or by having behavior that they exhibit being rewarded or punished in a sense. And so if someone is showing an unawareness of your practice expectation as a new patient, then you just politely say, when they are failing to turn up to their appointment time on time, or when they are failing their appointment time altogether or cancelling late, just let them know. "Thanks so much for the call, letting us know that you'll be cancelling or not turning up. We love it when our patients do let us know as soon as possible so we can make alternative plans. Just to let you know, we do prefer 24 hours notice just for future reference. Now let's go ahead and rebook your appointment time." And sometimes for some of those people, that will be enough. Now I'm aware of that. That's the practice expectation. I've developed a good relationship with them so far in my very few visits with them, and I want to maintain that. So therefore, they treat me well. I feel a sense of reciprocity to treat them well. And so I'll be more mindful about turning up to my appointment times now. And it could just end at that. When we become very high and mighty, authoritarian and rude, speaking down to patients like we're the parent, they're the naughty child, we do run the risk of breaking any good relationship we've built up with them so far. So I think it's important that when we're just making someone aware, "Oh, by the way, this is the way we do things here," that it is a supportive, helpful discussion rather than one that's in any way intended to make them feel bad. The second reason why people can break their appointment times is because they simply forget. And people are becoming very accustomed to reminders to the hairdresser, to their GPs, reminders that they're due for blood donations. Reminders come through to their phones all the time about the things they need to do. Even webinars they book in for, you get a reminder the day before, the day of, an hour beforehand. We get used to having these reminders come through. And certainly dental practices have been reminding or confirming their dental patients' appointment times for many, many years. And so to make sure that forgetting is not the reason why people are breaking their appointment times, just make sure you've got a well thought out confirmation process of your appointment times. And when I say well thought out, I'm not saying the easiest possible way of doing it. And I'm also not saying do it 5 times before the appointment time either. I think that with appointment times that are pre-booked 6 months ahead of time, to remind them 1 or 2 weeks prior and then the day before is fantastic. I think if they've been made just days or weeks ahead of time, the reminder the day before is a great way of going, especially if you've also sent them through an SMS of the actual appointment time at the time of them making it, so it can go straight into their online calendars. Those sort of things are a good idea. I think with new patients, it is a wonderful idea to actually call those patients up and just call in to let you know that we're looking forward to seeing you at 10 o'clock tomorrow, making sure you do know exactly where we are. If you come a few minutes early to fill out a new patient form, that'd be fantastic. It's another opportunity to have a very helpful, lovely, rapport-building conversation with one of our new patients. You could also just be mindful of, and I do try to encourage receptionists to do this, rather than just do a blanket SMS to everyone that's coming in tomorrow with their confirmation messages, to actually click into each patient. Because those that require antibiotic cover prior to coming in, I think they deserve a phone call. Have you got your script? Are you all clear on when to take your antibiotics? I think those that maybe are coming in for a regular appointment time and maybe they had an OPG referral sent to them last time, and just make sure you have had that OPG taken. So there are some patients that I think it's helpful for us to make sure that we do provide that telephone call. Maybe, the ones that tend to be worse at committing to their appointment times can be young men and young people who are, still getting into adulthood and becoming consistent in their behaviours. So you may then select to call those sort of people and confirm their appointment time over the phone, where the rest can just get an SMS reminder. Make sure your SMS reminders have the appointment day and time written first as well, because many people, they just see the alert come up on their phone and they don't bother opening into it. Or they have a presumption, I've certainly done this on a number of occasions, where you presume, oh yes, that's the hairdresser, I know I'm going in tomorrow at 11 o'clock. But then you turn up at 11 o'clock and they say, oh, your appointment time's not till 12. And you're like, oh, I didn't even read the message properly. And so make sure that your confirmation messages are effective as well. If you can't locate somebody through a couple of SMSs, make sure you ring, leave a message, send another SMS, whatever you need to do to confirm those appointment times. And so take forgetting out as a reason why people break their appointment times by having a really sound confirmation process system that you've got in place at your reception area. The third reason why I have noticed people breaking appointment times in the past is because they're afraid to cancel. Rather than have that difficult, uncomfortable discussion about, oh, I need to cancel. Oh, yes, well, we've got a cancellation policy and you're going to be feed next time it happens. I don't want to have that conversation. I'd rather just not turn up, not have the conversation and pretend it doesn't even exist. And so you never want to make someone afraid or reticent about calling you to cancel late, or that they're running late to their appointment time. You want to know, ideally, hours or days before they need to break their appointment time. But the next best is to get them to tell you any time at all. Even if it's just when they were due to turn up, you want them to tell you right then and there. So then you can have a quiet word with the surgery, with their current patient, saying, if you need to do any further treatment, you've actually got time. Your next 1 hour patient's not turning up. And so the way you make sure that afraid to cancel isn't a reason why people are breaking their appointment times with you is that no matter what, anytime a patient rings up and says, I'm running a few minutes late, or all of a sudden I need to cancel my appointment time and I know it's within 24 hours, the very first thing you say is, gosh, thank you so much for letting us know the minute you could. That's rewarding the behavior you want repeated. So if it ever has to happen again, then they're going, oh, they really do appreciate as early a notice as possible. And so I'm going to go ahead and give them that. Thanks for letting us know as soon as you can. We really appreciate it. Now, let's have a look at what we need to do to rebook that appointment time. And if it's somebody who is recidivist in this kind of unhelpful behavior, that's when you can say as well, thank you so much for letting us know as soon as possible. That helps us out enormously. Okay, now I have noticed actually the last couple of times you have had to cancel late. Just to let you know, with our cancellation policy, I see it noted here last time that we did warn you that there would be a $200 fee. Unfortunately, I will likely have to charge that to you. Is that going to be okay for us to still move forward and get another appointment time scheduled? So after you pay that account, we can go ahead and continue with treatment of your oral condition. And so that has really come from an experience that I had with a previous practice, where even if the patient had said the reason that they were cancelling was for a funeral, the receptionists were told, don't believe that. That will just be an excuse. Ask them how close they were to the person that passed away. It was really quite crazy. But I thought to myself at the time, observing this behaviour, if I was a patient, I wouldn't ring up and cancel here. There's no way. I would just not turn up. The fourth reason why people can break appointment times is because it's a very early relationship. one of the wonderful things that we have with our very long-standing loyal patients is that we've built up such a strong relationship with them that they don't want to let us down. They know us well. We do good things for them. They want to do good things for us. They want to maintain this lovely relationship. And so if they do need to cancel, they'll make sure it's for a really good reason, and they'll give as much notice to us as possible. However, if it's a very early relationship with that patient, they haven't got much to lose yet. They haven't got the depth of the relationship and rapport developed to date to lose. And so what we can do to help reduce this as a chance of late cancellations or FTAs or any kind of broken appointment time is that as swiftly as possible, build up a really strong rapport with patients. So over the phone, use their first name when they're organising their appointment time. Get to know them a little bit more. Ask them further into what's made them select you as a dental practice to try out. I really hope that we satisfy you. You sound like a person that we would love to have here at the practice. Were you referred by anybody? What's been going on with you at the moment? Is it just for a general checkup and clean, or is there a particular problem that's going on in your mouth? Oh, you've had a toothache. I'm so sorry to hear that. Has it kept you awake at night? Tell me a little bit more about that. Get into more of a discussion than just the standard process of booking an appointment time and gathering initial information from that patient. Get into a relationship with the patient as soon as possible. You've got that initial phone call when they've booked the appointment time. Maybe then you can add on to that an email, a welcome email that goes out to them that has a whole bunch of delightful information about how they're going to experience wonderful things coming to your practice, with links to your website, your Google reviews, all these tremendous things, maybe a little welcome video from the dental team saying, welcome on board. We're so thrilled that you've chosen to book an appointment time with us. This is what to expect when you come on board. Maybe then the confirmation call is an in-person phone call, not just an SMS. So you can further build on that relationship as well, so that if they did need to cancel, they're feeling a bit reticent about it because you've already developed a strong connection with them. And so that's one thing you can do, or a series of things you can do to as quickly as possible build a relationship with your newer patients. So despite the fact it's an early relationship, you've got a stronger connection than what they'd have at any other practice. And so they are less inclined to let you down. The fifth reason why people can break appointment times is a simple lack of engagement, a lack of engagement with your practice, a lack of engagement with their treatment that they're about to get. The lack of engagement with the practice itself, that can change when you've got these lovely systems in place of sending welcome bits and pieces, the actual telephone call for the confirmation, having delightful people speak to them over the telephone, and giving them a really wonderful experience when they do come in. That can all be managed when you're trying to deliver quite unanticipated top-level customer service. And the lack of engagement reduces down from a lack of engagement in your practice perspective as they become more loyal, as they keep returning for further appointment times over the months and years. But a lack of engagement in their actual treatment can absolutely be a reason why they break their appointment time. So it's been a few weeks since I was last there and they found out that I needed a filling. I've woken up today, I've got a busy, hectic day on. I've been called into work. I'm really not feeling any symptoms from that tooth. I know that they say I've got a decay. I'm sure I do. I'm just not getting any symptoms from it. What's the harm if I just cancel that appointment time today? I've got other bits and pieces that I'd rather prioritise higher. Maybe it's a more expensive treatment. I've booked in for a crown. At the time, it seemed really important, but it's been a few weeks now and I really can't afford it. And I'd rather not have such a large chunk of my day taken up today. So I reckon I'm just going to pop it off till after Christmas. And so a lack of engagement in the actual treatment that's been advised and that will be performed at that next appointment time can be a big reason why people break their appointment times. And we can absolutely reduce this being a reason by developing a lovely, engaging process of telling patients what they need, what condition it's going to treat, and what ramification it's going to eliminate by moving forward with the treatment. And so do make sure that when you are describing the dental conditions to a patient and their treatment options to solve that condition or to treat that condition. Make sure they're very aware also of the ramification of doing nothing or delaying treatment. This is not to threaten them in the slightest. This is just to state the absolute truth and fact of the situation to them. We've got a decay there. I would hate for it to get too close to the nerve, because it's when it gets too close to the nerve, that's when you start getting symptoms. At the moment, there are no symptoms, which is fantastic, which means we don't risk damaging the nerve, which then leads to a root canal therapy, which then leads to a crown having to go over the top of that tooth. Not ideal, expensive, timely, and avoidable if we just get the decay removed and the filling placed now. So you can imagine when that patient goes, I'm not feeling any problems with the tooth. They're like, yeah, but I got to get in quick because I don't want to feel any symptoms on this tooth. That's the next bad step that I want to try to avoid. With the crown, I'm moving around. It is expensive and all the things. But if they truly understood the ramifications of not getting the crown, maybe the root canal treatment that I've just had is going to reinfect. Maybe the crack that looks like it might be going underneath the gum line will actually fracture. I'll lose a chance to do the crown after all, and I'm going to have to go down the path of implant. I don't want to do that. So when they understand the ramifications surrounding not getting treatment or delaying treatment, that can be the motivation that they need to keep that appointment time and maintain it as a high priority, even though they've left the practice weeks ago after their initial consultation with you or their examination with you, and time has proven that nothing's all collapsing in their mouth. They understand they're trying to avoid the collapse in their mouth, not have the collapse be the reason they come back in again. And the sixth and final reason I've got why people do break their appointment time is because the practice is moving down a path of pre-booked slots. And what I mean by that is that they have some practices do set out in their appointment book high production, mid production, and low production appointment times. So we make sure we do hit certain financial productive and production goals in any given month. That is a tremendous strategy, and I applaud practices that do that. But I've seen some practices who are quite flexible and move these spots around to accommodate a patient that can only come at a certain day on a certain time, and there's no pre-booked slot for their treatment at that time, but I can move one around to make sure I bring them in. And then at the other end of the spectrum, I've seen practices that are very rigid. This is the way the dentist likes to structure their day. We're not going to bend or be flexible in that. And so even though it's not a convenient time for this patient to come in at 10 o'clock on a Friday, that's the only one that's available or put aside, reserved for this patient, they're going to have to turn up to that time anyway. The patient will book it. It's the only time that they can come. They want to come back to that particular dentist. They're a loyal patient. However, at the time of booking that appointment time, they are saying 10 o'clock on a Friday does not suit me. I work from 9 to 5 and it doesn't suit me. Bad luck, we're going to have to book it anyway, in more polite terms, of course. And so they go, okay, I'm sure by then I'll be able to work my roster around it. I'll be able to let my boss know I can't come in that morning. I'll be able to figure something out. I'll figure something out. And so they book the appointment time because there's no other choices for them. But then as the day approaches, they get to the day before, they get their reminder, confirmation, whatever you'd like to call it, on their phone. They go, damn it, 10 o'clock tomorrow. There's no way I can maneuver my life around this. What was I thinking booking that appointment time? And they end up breaking the appointment time simply because it never suited them in the first place. We want to make it as easy as possible for people to turn up, pay for their treatment, and be wonderful patients. Why make it difficult for them? And so if you've got quite a rigid appointment book, which only allows new patients to be booked at the 8 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, no other times, we can't run late for new patients, then you are going to suffer broken appointment times because people, by the time the day comes, realize it doesn't suit my life after all. I can't go ahead and keep that appointment time. And so they're the 6 reasons why I think people break their appointment times, and the 6 remedies for each of those reasons too. Unawareness of practice expectation. For the few that exhibit that behaviour, let them know what the practice expectation is very politely. Number 2, they forget, have a great confirmation system in place. Number 3, they're afraid to cancel. Thank them for the notification. Show your gratitude so they do that again. Early relationship. Build rapport, build that relationship as early as possible with as many effective, positive communications as possible. And lack of engagement, move through what you currently do to let a patient know about the ramifications of not getting their treatment performed in a timely fashion. That will help that not be a reason. And the final one with pre-book slots, don't be rigid in your pre-book slots. If you have that going on in your practice, make sure that you are booking patients at times that's super easy for them to actually turn up and attend. Now, I mentioned to you that there is a letter that I would send out to the tiny minority of people that do fail their appointment times or break their appointment times routinely. And as I said, this letter is available on the website. Go to the julieparkerpracticesuccess.com.au website, go to free resources. It's listed there. There's also a link to that page in the show notes as well. But I want you to put yourself in a position as a patient of a dental practice, an optometrist, a GP, some kind of medico. You're a patient. You have broken one appointment time and you were told about the cancellation policy, just so you know. You have broken a second appointment time and you were warned of a fee if it happened again. You've broken a third appointment time and you get sent a physical letter, not from the practice, but from the dentist, from the practice. And so this is coming from, your GP, your cardiac surgeon, your whatever. It's from the actual practitioner themselves. And I want you to imagine how you feel. They've treated you so well and you've broken these 3 appointment times. I want to get from you what you would feel if you read this letter. Dear patient, dear Sally, I was wondering whether you would be willing to help me out. As I hope you are aware, we love having you as one of our valued patients. I appreciate the trust you place in me and my team to provide the services and treatments that help you maintain a healthy body. Something you may or may not be aware of is the impact on the practice when patients either fail their appointments, cancel with little notice, or arrive late to the agreed appointment. Failed appointments and late cancellations result in a missed opportunity for other patients to use that time while our wonderful team sits idle and annoys our receptionist. Bit of humour doesn't hurt. Arriving late to your appointment has a knock-on effect to the rest of the session as we then run late for each subsequent patient. And you don't like waiting for your appointment caused by another patient not turning up on time. Sally, your previous 3 appointment times are an example. Example 1, example 2, and example 3. And you list them down, the date, the time, and whether it was a late cancellation or failed appointment time. So you give the specifics there. I appreciate that patients may be unaware of our expectations with appointment management. A system that we find helpful is A, if you cannot attend your appointment, provide the practice with as much notice as possible, ideally 24 hours notice. And B, if you find it routinely difficult to arrive on time to appointments, have a discussion with us so we can help you in terms of a day and or a time for all of your future bookings. Please be assured that in cases of real emergency, we are delighted to accommodate whatever you need. Ensuring my team consistently and successfully deliver a high standard of patient care is our paramount aim. And I ask you help us to help you by making some small changes to your management of your dental appointments with us. If you would like to discuss this with me personally, please call me on my mobile. Kind regards, Dr. Smith. Now, if I received that letter from a professional, I would feel embarrassed. I would feel compelled to respond positively to that if I wanted to maintain a good relationship with them. It would absolutely affect my behaviour with them. If not, if it's someone wants to get upset about this kind of letter because they failed us 3 times, not failed us, but they've done kind of the wrong thing 3 times, they've been warned a couple of times already as well, maybe we've already feed them and they've paid that fee. So if they respond badly to this, that's when you can take the step of, we're not quite sure if we want this patient here anymore. But I personally think that most people receiving that will respond positively if they were going to maintain their loyalty with your practice, and they would take far greater effort to not disappoint you in their management of their appointment times. And I just want you to always be aware, how often do you think you'd have to send this letter out? When you think of the number of patients that move through your practice every single year, you may be sending this out at most once or twice in a whole year, maybe even less frequently. So I hope I have encouraged you to reassess when your cancellation policy starts being spoken about with your patients. We don't need to warn 70-year-old couples who come to the restaurant not to drink too much, otherwise they'll be thrown out. We may need to warn a group of 19-year-olds that come to the restaurant that if they drink too much, they might need to be thrown out. So really recognise that don't paint every patient with the same brush, when only a very small minority are the ones that require to have that kind of communication happening. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to give me a call anytime. Otherwise, I look forward to speaking with you next time. See you later. If you enjoyed today's podcast, then you should come along and join the club. The club is a whole library of lunch and learns, with new lunch and learns being produced all the time that help your dental team gain greater success in your systems, in your team behaviours, in your patient management, in your patient engagement, in their treatment plans. They are usually around half an hour in length, and so team members can sit down, be paid for their lunch break, eat lunch while they're being inspired and delivered all of these insights and strategies that can be implemented so you all achieve greater levels of success. Also, Amina and I, my buddy from Dental Management Expertise, have a company, Dental Business Mastery, together. And our flagship online 1-year course for dental practice managers and dental practice owners to learn how to very successfully manage your dental practice is available. Head over to dentalbusinessmastery.com.au to find out more information, and has information about any other courses that we've got available. Also, make sure you do jump onto my website, julieparkerpracticesuccess.com.au, and you will see a whole load of free information. There are articles, the blog, downloads, templates, a whole load of things that are designed to help you overcome any specific challenge that you've got going on in your practice at the moment. If you have any suggestions of topics or guests that I can have on the podcast, please let me know. Thanks for listening.